Hello and welcome to this episode of the Chamber Connect podcast from the Huron Chamber of Commerce. My name is Colin Carmichael. I'm the executive director of the Chamber and the host of the podcast. And I am pleased this week to welcome as my guest Ralph Rubino. He's the owner, I guess, of TriCity Financial in Goderich and also a member of the board of directors at the Huron Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the podcast, Ralph.
Thank you so much for having me, Colin. I appreciate you doing this.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. So why don't we start off the way we always do, and I'll just give you an opportunity to introduce yourself, introduce TriCity Financial, and just let us know who you are and what you do.
Sounds great. No, that's fantastic. I think it's a good spot to start just with any conversation. So Ralph Rubino, as you said, I have been Goderich resident since '92. So I've been here most of my life anyways, not to put an exact age and date on myself, but so been around Goderich a very long time and have been working in the financial world since 2013. And so now I own and operate TriCity Financial Goderich. So TriCity Financial Group is myself and my business partner, Rich. Him and I work very closely together. And so I own and operate our Goderich location, which takes place right in my home here. And the reason for that and not having a full brick and mortar is I do spend a lot of my time on the road and sitting with clients and their families at their kitchen tables. So what we do specifically with TriCity Financial Group and my background is on the financial wellness, financial coaching, and financial planning side of the finance business. So really specializing in peeling back the curtain and looking at the big picture. We're not just coming in and saying, oh, you're this age, you have this much debt, here's how much life insurance per se, or here's how much you should be investing. We really want to see the bigger picture. We got to know your cash flow. We got to know as much about you as physically possible. And we really, really pride ourselves in getting to know our clients and having really great conversations.
And you're primarily individuals as opposed to businesses. So you're working with individuals, families, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I would say primarily on the individual side, a lot of the individuals that we work with, especially in this area, as we all know, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of self-employed individuals. So I do work with a lot of businesses as part of a plan with the individual that I'm working with on the personal side. And we've actually got something pretty cool that we'll chat about maybe a little later regarding an employee wellness program that we're working on that's actually getting us working with more companies hand to hand. And it's a pretty cool thing that we just started in the fall.
Yeah, so I assume, and maybe I'm wrong, but I assume sole proprietors are kind of a part of that group of folks that you're talking about. And I think, that arrangement is sometimes more complicated than people think about. They think, well, it's just I'll just be a sole proprietor and I have this little business side, it's sometimes as a side business or as their primary thing, and it's just it's just easy peasy. But I don't think a lot of people kind of really understand the financial implications and tax implications and all those other things. Maybe I don't know. Maybe just talk a bit about those sole proprietor clients and what you're helping them work through.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great point because it is generally thought of as, oh, I'll be a sole proprietor and I'll make what I make and do it. And then it gets into the questions. Well, do I have to have an HST number? How much am I remitting? Do I keep any money back for taxes? What am I doing for articles of incorporation? What if I want to bring on a business partner? How do I utilize write-offs? And this is where in our world, and working with sole proprietors and working with corporations, whatever the case may be, you have to build a good team, like the Blue Jays have built a good team, where we really pride ourselves with working, and working very closely with the people within their team. So we want to talk to their accountant. We want to speak with their lawyer. We have collaborative Zoom meetings like this where there's 4 screens with the business owners and, lawyer, accountant, and myself, and we'll chat about strategy. We'll chat about, okay, well, where could we put these assets, or how do we want to represent these liabilities and different things like that. So building a great team is a huge aspect of working with sole proprietors to know because one of the most common questions that they have is, well, when do I take that next step? When's the right time to incorporate? And I myself may have an opinion based on the limited knowledge that I might have if it's an introductory conversation. But of course, the accountant that they've been working with for 10 years will have a lot better of an indication based on, yeah, like you're getting close to that threshold of that it would be a tax benefit compared to,
Right.
you know what?
Yeah.
If you're winding this business down, maybe you're taking some cash. Who knows?
Yeah.
You might want to just pump the brakes on that for now.
Well, and building that team of experts, it has been a bit of a recurring theme on the podcast, but even in the other conversations that I have, and I think one of the major mistakes that business owners make in like early stage is the kind of fake it till you make it kind of thing, and you don't
Yeah,
want to
absolutely.
you don't want to spend the money on a bookkeeper or on a financial planner or on on human resources stuff, on legal aspects. We have an episode coming up with Haley Bettles from
Oh, great.
small town paralegal, and so we talk in that episode about making sure that your legal stuff is up to snuff. So, but often in early stage of launching a business or growing a business, that those feel like expenses with not a lot of ROI, right? It feels like you're just
Yeah.
writing checks to people to tell you how to run your business, right? Which
It's a little more expensive to get your income tax done when you add that INC or LTD at the end of
yeah,
your business name, right?
yeah,
But
and
there's a reason for it.
Exactly, but it's really putting that team together, and even if it does cost you, I mean they're professionals, they deserve to be paid, and you deserve to be paid, but it's an investment in the future success of the business, right? It's making sure that you're from day one almost, have the good advice and you're doing things properly, because it is always more expensive to fix things later, right? And not
That,
just on the opportunity cost, but even just
yeah.
digging yourself out of a hole is never fun.
No, that you nailed it. Like it's kind of a pay now or pay later kind of situation. And I really think of it in that way as to you have to make that investment. And that's the big difference in conversations that I have with individuals. And I adapt these conversations myself. Like I only incorporated in 2019. And so, my first 3 years in the business, and maybe I'll explain a little bit more of how I got to where I'm at now once I get past this one here. But I had to get to that point where it made sense from an income standpoint, from a write-off standpoint, and also from a legal standpoint. In my industry, how you want to represent yourself with a trade name versus a sole proprietorship versus a corporation. There was some legalities to that with my contracting and my licensing with some of the companies that I represent. But yeah, like, just to keep coming back to the Blue Jays, because, we're coming up on some more World Series games here. I look at game one of the World Series so far, and they had Trey Savage out there making $57,000 a year as a rookie, pitching his opening at bat. He's pitching against Shohei Ohtani, who's making one of the largest contracts in baseball, and it's not always what you get is what you pay for, because clearly that kid is pitching way above his pay grade, and I'm sure he's going to be due for a little bit of an increase there, but it is the value in the professionals that you surround yourself with, and you want to make sure you're building that team, because it's going to be so much easier to be proactive, and it's working on your business, not just in your business,
Yeah.
which I find is a really common thing that comes up at a lot of our chamber events, VA5s, different networking opportunities that we have within the chamber. A lot of people, say, I really want to be doing this, but I'm too busy doing all the day-to-day stuff, that they're not really taking that step back and looking at it from as a bit of a zoomed out lens to work on the business, because they're just so focused on the day to day. And that's
Yeah.
the nature of entrepreneurship at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, and I always say, the things that you got into your business to do will happen. Like those will like often take care of themselves, because that's the stuff you want to do, or you wouldn't
Right.
be in that business.
Uh-huh.
It's all the other stuff that you have to really focus on. The stuff you don't want to do, the annoying stuff, or the scary stuff, or the all that stuff. You really have to force yourself forced yourself to prioritize and to get that expert, help. And with apologies to all of the plumbers, and I don't know why I pick on plumbers, but when a plumbing business fails, it's almost never because of the plumbing. Like it's almost never because they're a bad plumber. It's because they're a bad bookkeeper or a bad HR person or a bad legal person, and they shouldn't be doing those things. That they should be having advisors doing those things for them, and it's often they get into whatever kind of trouble, and it's not just plumbers, all kinds of businesses.
Yes.
But I don't know why I pick on the plumbers, but
Okay.
why don't we segue a bit? You referenced the evolution, I guess, of your business and how it came to be. So why don't you share that story with us
Cool.
and give us a bit of the history there.
Yeah, absolutely. So got into the financial world in 2013, working for one of the big banks, very similar color to what I'm wearing today. So I'll let people process of elimination if they don't already know where I started. But I really, really enjoyed my time working with that institution. And the reason for that was I got a lot of great training. I got to meet a lot of really great people, one of whom I actually got to spend a few minutes chatting with at our most recent event that I saw you at, Colin, at Cowbell for a new accounting firm starting in the area. And it's incredible how, those connections carry on. And that's really what I've tried to pride myself on in my years of doing this. So with that, then I worked with a private firm. My time with the bank was great, as I mentioned, but I didn't love the future direction of where I was headed, in the sense of you had to kind of pick a lane almost at that point. And I moved around a lot. There would be days I'd get in my car in the morning, and at that time, I lived north of Goderich, and I'd get in my car and I'd be 10 minutes into my drive and realize I was going to the wrong branch. I didn't really like that uncertainty and that amount of movement. So worked with a private firm for a number of years after that. And yeah, it was a really great experience. That was where I started focusing more on the insurance in the investment world, which I handled both in working at the bank, but this was more of a direct focus. And I learned that I really enjoyed that aspect of the business, and I wanted to get more onto the planning side of things, and I wanted to take it a little bit more digital. And that was what really pushed me in the direction of launching my own firm, which I did back in 2019. So it's crazy to think it's been 6.5 years almost of doing this for myself. And that was under the name Heart to Heart Financial, which still exists out there. There's still lots of my pens and business cards that you might see floating around Goderich and area.
I think I have
But
a few in the office here still.
yeah, they're good pens. They are good pens. Yeah, big shout out to Kim over at Mark Apparel. Those were good pens. But it was it was a really awesome opportunity to just kind of do it for myself and on my own and go in that opportunity of sole proprietorship. And what had happened was I learned in that process that if I wanted to advertise as anything other than Ralph Rubino, I had to have a corporation. So I had to spend a lot of hours and lots of yellow sheets of legal paper of names and buzzwords and things I loved and things I maybe didn't like so much or things that were maybe overused. And it really all boiled down to a pretty dark, or not dark, but deep story for me and my family. So back in 2019, I had just hosted an event with Engage Goderich, a volunteer group that I work with. We work closely with the chamber on a couple
Mhm.
of things. And anyways, we had done a Pedal for Palsy event that day for a local family to help them raise some money for a bicycle for their child that had cerebral palsy that needed a customized bike. And it was a great day, beautiful weather, biked around to a bunch of different spots within Goderich, and had a nice event at the end and presented them a nice big check, and all was great. And then I go to a barbecue after and I get a call from my cousin, and my cousin is 7 years my junior. He doesn't call me. And he says, you have kids around that age, I'm sure. So like
Yep.
it's texting, right? It's not a phone call. So I was like, I didn't even know you had my phone number. But anyways, he's like, you got to speak to your dad. And my dad lives in Etobicoke. So my dad had been on the heart transplant list, and he's battled with some different health events and had a heart attack quite a number of years ago. Was all good, and then had a little bit of complications a few years later. And excuse me, he ended up there was a victim of an accident of some sort. So they had said, there is going to be a donor and I'm going to have to get a surgery. So he says, you can come down in the morning and see me after the surgery. Not that type of guy. I couldn't wait. I wouldn't have slept that night anyway. So I got in my car. I got to Toronto extremely quickly and made it there in time for a surgery. And it was on that drive that it came to me of the heart to heart. Obviously, it's a pun on a conversation that I have when I'm working with clients and families and getting into the nitty gritty of their financial world. But also, it was, that literally was a life-saving measure of one individual that had unfortunately passed away to give my dad a second chance at that. And long and short of it, he didn't end up getting the surgery. There was some complications, but that visit ended up saving his life. He spent 76 days in hospital after that event, and still has his original ticker. Still going, but yeah, it really got me to that point of a business name, which was great, and I still value that. It's still my logo on my screen here, and but it really taught me a lot of the unpreparedness that you can have in life, whether it comes to proper insurances in place, medical benefits, retirement savings, or just a plan in general that gets completely derailed when you're forced into an early retirement like my dad was. So that's really what hits home for me and what really drives me in this business of making sure people are thinking of the things that, like you said, they work in their life or on their life, that they're doing all these things that have to happen. Bring in some individuals that can look at it with a different lens and maybe take some things off that back burner, which that really brought to light is how quickly something like that can happen.
Yeah, there's always, I mean, we're all busy, right? And it's always that tendency to, oh well, I'll worry about that later, or I don't need to worry about that yet. I'm only 50. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
that's about
it's,
it. Yeah,
like 60 comes fast or whatever,
that's
like
right.
it, and those unexpected things that you can't plan for, like, medical or other, life changes, or the president of the United States wakes up on the wrong side of the bed and upends your business or your employer's business, and that it can impact you. And so it's important to, yeah, be prepared to think about those, how you would handle an unexpected change
Exactly.
in income or expenses, on both sides of the ledger there, and to have that
Yeah,
expert help, right?
that's exactly it. That help, because no matter what happened with, in that case, my dad's health, I can't do anything from a heart surgeon standpoint. I can't do anything from a medically assisted standpoint. But what I can do for the families that I work with is think of some of those what ifs. You can never prepare for all of them, but if we can at least ensure that you can focus on your health, or you can focus on whatever's happening to your child or your partner or whomever it may be, or your business, and the financial side of it can be at least a little bit more looked after based on some of the things that we put into place. And that's really where my partnership with TriCity came into play. So that happened February of 2024. So we're about a year and a half into this partnership. My partner Rich and we have known each other for quite a number of years. We're very good friends, and it really worked out as to our philosophy in this world, because there is a lot of financial services out there. They all, have their different things that they focus on or ways that they do things. And I was finding that in my interview process, when I was trying to grow my business and talking to some individuals, it was really hard to find someone that was as like-minded as I was, in the sense of how we worked with families. And with Rich and we see things the same way, from a standpoint of high level planning, look at the big picture. Everything else will work itself out from there once you know as much about people as possible. And so TriCity Financial Group, as I said, I own and operate my office here in Goderich, and Rich owns and operates his. And the benefit of that is it's an insurance policy for us as well. We have some really great growth aspirations, but at the end of the day, if I walk out of my office to go to my next meeting and I don't make it home that night, I want to make sure that the families that have entrusted me with their financial plans, their insurances, investments, all those types of conversations, I want someone that is going to be working with those clients if I'm not around. Excuse me. to have that same philosophy, and I know that they'll be in good hands. So it's an insurance policy for my insurance business at the end of the day. Yeah.
Good. Well, let's shift gears a little bit. You mentioned Engage Goderich a little bit ago, and I know that's an organization that you work with a lot. You were a founding member of it, I think, but anyway,
Yeah.
and we of course work with Engage Goderich on the corporate challenge. And as I mentioned, you are also on the board of directors for the
Yeah.
chamber. So let's roll that all together and kind of talk about your community community engagement stuff with respect to
Sure.
those two organizations. And I'm sure there are others as well. But
Yeah, that's the thing. Once you get involved in a few things, the asks don't really stop. I Our former mayor, Mr. John Grace, he always said, if you want something done, give it to a
the
busy
busy,
person. And
absolutely.
yeah, that's something that always resonated with me.
Well, and in the chamber world, we're always everyone we deal with is always the busiest person in town because we're, business owners or, our chamber
You
members
got
are
it.
always, and it's never just their business. It's, they're on three other volunteer boards or, whatever it is. And
Exactly.
it's a challenge, but it's also, a blessing in the sense that they're the folks who are really, interested in their communities and want to do more. So, but anyway,
Yeah,
so yeah, so
that's
continue on about, yeah.
No, exactly. It's that it's that little bit of overlap almost, and I find value in that. So I myself, yes, sit on the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce, which I've done for a number of years now, and really enjoy my work with the chamber for many reasons. Obviously, selfishly, in my business, I need people to know who I am and what I do. It's all about that, getting out there and networking, which the chamber is one of the best opportunities that I have as a business owner to really get out there and connect with some other business owners, some other individuals, and get to go to a lot of really cool events and also get to put on some really cool events. So the partnership with Engage Goderich, it made sense from a standpoint of Engage Goderich. We are looking to recruit, retain, and sustain young adults and individuals in Goderich. And this model came from something that was a larger undertaking a number of years ago, which it was from the county standpoint. And what Engage Goderich, how it was born essentially was let's refine that from countywide to more Goderich centric, and let's try and build a model of how we can make Engage Goderich tick, get people involved, get people out, put some cool stuff on, a nice balance of fun and educational from a standpoint of business development, things like that, and really parlay that into the other communities within the county. And it was a county-driven initiative at that point. Since then, it has become kind of individualized. Engage Goderich is its own beast. It doesn't report to or have to get permission from really anybody, which is great. We can kind of try and push the envelope a little bit more, maybe with some events, but we do work closely with Goderich Tourism, the Huron Chamber, a number of other social clubs and things like that in the area. And yeah, really just trying to give people an opportunity, and especially those that are new to the area. If you're not a business owner and you haven't joined a great group like the Chamber, you're not going to come out and meet a lot of people. You're especially coming off the backs of COVID where everyone stayed home a little bit more. It was something that we wanted to try and get some people back out there. So Engage Goderich, I got involved with them probably back 2017 with myself and a couple individuals that really took it to that next step and kind of got it off the ground again. And we've gone through some peaks and valleys, being in that age demographic, people, have families that grow, job opportunities that change, all these different things that can happen. So we have had some turnover. I am the steadfast in that regard because it's important to me.
Yeah.
I want to see it continue. And I would say my favorite thing that I do get to do with Engage Godders nowadays is the corporate challenge. It is near and dear to me. It kind of hits on my inner Jeff Probst, survivor, hosting, fear factor, putting people through challenges, not that they're eating or drinking anything weird like fear factor, any pain. But it just, I was raised on that stuff. And I love to see our business communities get to come together, have some fun, make some memories, have some great laughs, and also get to be a little bit competitive.
Yeah.
It's 3 years strong now. We're going on to year four, and we've had new champions, we've had new teams, we've had teams come and go, and due to different reasons and whatnot or conflicts. But everyone, I can say with confidence that has done it has had a great time, had a great day, and yeah, I think they have something to talk about and something to leave behind. Last year they had some flag bearers, and I go into microwave basics and I see it hanging on the wall by their computers. I go into jockey, it's sitting in their main entranceway. Was at Caldwell Banker the other day, and it's hanging up in one of their offices as well. So it's great to see that it has a direct impact, and then like kind of a trickle out from there, where it could be a conversation piece, and people then we maybe get more people involved in the corporate challenge.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity for local businesses to do a little team building within themselves, but then also that networking without networking
Yes,
opportunity. My favorite events are always the ones where the networking is informal and inherent to the event, as opposed to now is your networking time.
that's
You
right.
know?
Yeah, yeah. Talk
So
now,
yeah,
stop now.
yeah. Um, yeah, so yeah, the corporate challenge was very soon after I took on the role as executive director.
Yeah,
I think we had the Goderich Mayor's Luncheon was just a few weeks after I
yeah.
started, and then it was,
That
oh, and by the
timeline
way, we have
checks
this
out.
other thing you have to help plan. But it was an amazing day, and then we've had another one since. They happen every June for those who aren't aware. But yeah, it's just a super fun day, it's nice to have an event like this for the quote unquote business community that is fun.
Yes.
As you know, I do a lot of work now in workforce development and or other those big issues that impact the economy, and that stuff is a super important role for the chamber to play, and
Yeah.
it's something that brings a lot of value to our members across the county. So it's nice to have these other events, and in particular the corporate challenge, where we're just out having fun for most of a day or for an
That's it.
afternoon, or
Bring
and
some levity to the monotony that you can feel when you're working in a business or on a business. That let's add some levity, and also by doing it, it's a great opportunity for those businesses to come out and have that fun where they don't really have to plan anything.
mhm.
We always give a challenge leading up to the challenge. There's always a pre-challenge. There is some work ahead of time, but they do like realistically get to show up. We have food there, we have drink there. The schedule is made, the events are all curated and ready to go. And I can't see really a better option for a team building than something that's pretty turnkey, where you pay your
Yeah.
registration fee, sign up before we sell out, and you got a spot to have some fun for a day. So yeah, one of my favorite things, and I think it's a great value add to the chamber members and non-chamber members, and it's a good show of like, hey, this is what our chamber does, and if you're in the loop, you're gonna get to enjoy a lot more of these types of things.
Yeah, and there is a lot of pride involved, as you said. Though those
Yeah,
banners, you go around town, and the banners that we had at this year's
yeah,
are out there, or the trophies for the few who are victorious.
that's right.
They have them on display, and I can tell you, I start getting emails in March and April from folks saying, "Hey, when can we sign up for Corporate Challenge?" Right? Because they want to make sure they don't miss it, because it is such a fun day, and it is such a kind of almost a uniquely fun day, right? So there's lots of other fun things to do around here in county with
Of
other
course.
various groups and that kind of thing, but it's fairly unique in being able to have a day like that with your coworkers, and other co-work,
Yeah.
other
Other
businesses as
businesses
well.
and yep.
And I think that's the other thing, having a team building thing with your team, like going to a Jays game or doing something that's fine, that's good. The neat thing about Corporate Challenge is that you're doing it with a dozen other businesses as well, right? And you're all having the same team building experience, but kind of you're competing, but you're also having fun together, which is neat.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, get me on a team building that's going to a Jays playoff game. I might, as much as I love doing what I do, I might be joining that business. But yeah, get me on a bus with a $10,000 Jays ticket for game 6 or 7 coming up here in Toronto. But yeah, it's a perfect. It's a I don't know. I'm biased, of course.
Of
I'm
course,
sure we
but
both are. But yeah, it's a great thing to do. Going back to my business specifically, the biggest thing that I can offer and be a differentiator, because as I said, there are a lot of opportunities in what we do, and we have to be a little bit different and have that it is that value add, right? It's how do we differentiate? What do we do differently? How are we different than an advisor you're going to see at your bank? How are we going to be different than mom and dad's advisor that your parents have worked with for the last 30 years? I'm going to be around, hopefully, knock on wood. I'm going to be around in 20 years still to help you through the rest of that process. But specifically to business, one of the things that I kind of mentioned a little bit earlier that I want to make sure I mentioned at the end here is the employee wellness program that we've implemented is something that if you haven't heard about it yet, you're going to hear about it. I'm going to be, coming around and at least introducing it because I think it's the best thing that we offer is our employee wellness program, where we sit down with the owners of a business and we talk about a strategy of implementing what we do from our financial services standpoint for their staff. So it's not to replace their dental and vision benefits. It's not to replace their RSP program or their pension program. We want all of that stuff to continue working as it is if it's working correctly. What we want to do is we want to add value to the employees to do as much with the money that they're getting paid as possible, because it is a very difficult time economically to live in this area or any area really for
anywhere,
that
yeah.
matter within Canada. When it comes to mortgage rates going from, yeah, I got my mortgage at 1.99% 4 years ago and I'm coming up for renewal at 4.1. What's that going to look like? So something that we utilize, which is unique to us with TriCity, is the Success Plan. It is a web-based planning software where the individual actually gets access to a software themselves, and us as the advisor have a way to log in and basically keep tabs on things that we need to do and have all of our discussions be on the same page. And it puts the client in the driver's seat, which is something that I really value because I want them to have some skin in the game other than their just investments per se. I want them to know why this makes sense for this. And if their mortgage goes up by 2%, what does it do to their cash flow? And if they have just paid off their car finally and they have $350 a month, is that just going into their fund to save up for Jay's tickets, or go to a local event or support a local restaurant? Or do we want to take $150 of that and apply it here or here? What makes the most impact to save them time, interest, and really create a clear picture of where you're at today and where you're going to head based on what you are doing and little tweaks we can make along the way. So implementing that through our employee wellness program, we've already got a couple of businesses that we work with that have added it as a value add for their staff, and the feedback has been fantastic. So I'm really, really excited about that next phase of the business.
Well, I have a perfect venue through which you can share that message, and that's our HR peer network,
Mhm.
which is a relatively new group that the chamber has started this year that brings together folks in businesses across the county who are doing HR for their business, whether that's in their job title or not. And as you know, and I'm sure you've talked to these folks. So many of our businesses are of a size where they don't necessarily have an HR manager. They don't, so you have the business owner doing it at 11 p.m. On a Saturday night, or you have the office admin who gets stuck doing HR stuff. without necessarily the right training or that kind of thing. And so this group is designed to bring those folks together, talk about HR issues, look at opportunities and things they can do. We've had other guest speakers talking about mental health in the workplace and that kind of thing. So I think
Yeah.
this employee financial wellness, service, I product, whatever, however you
Yeah,
frame it,
no,
but
exactly.
would be good for to be able for them to be able to have that kind of thing to offer to their employees, because I think these really small businesses often think that those kinds of things are out of reach, and even group benefits and those kinds of things. They think that's
Sure.
that we're too small for that,
Yep.
and they're not.
Nope.
The programs that are available now, whether it's yours or others, are scale right down now
That's right.
to the smallest of businesses, and it's that investment in the business, for the future success. And because if you're, and I'm paraphrasing you here, but I think if your employees are financially sound, they're going to be more productive employees, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
and it's not just a selfish thing, but it's also, as a business owner, you don't want, you want your employees to be making good use of that paycheck, so that they're, they're decreases stress, all those kinds of things. So, uh,
We speak to it, and when that's and this is why you get involved with the chamber, because now you have these opportunities to speak on a podcast like this and get these connections to this HR program. That's a new initiative. We just got our marketing materials. It's sitting right there. So we just got that thanks to our friends over at the print shop in town here, and it's a great option to get in front of people. We have it with a company with as small as 3 people, right? Like you
yeah,
said, it is scalable. It is not out of reach that way. And the one of the things in that book, you haven't seen it yet, which is fun. I'm going to get you one, but it speaks to exactly that. If the employees are financially well at home, they're going to be better off in the workplace because they don't maybe have as much of that stress that is bothering them. They're also going to be safer in the workplace because they're not distracted by the fight they had over money last night with their partner. Now, if they fight over something else, that's outside of our scope. But, if we can help get everyone on the same page from a financial standpoint, that's what we do. And that is a really great opportunity to make use of what they're paying, because the solution for most, I won't put a number on it, but I would say the solution for most isn't a raise of $1 an hour or $2 an hour. That is just more money that's going to be spent and under the same habits or the same patterns.
right.
So if we can help them identify and really utilize the money they're making now, they might be fine with the money they're making. They're just maybe not allocating it correctly. Or maybe they just need another set of eyes on it to really assure them, like, hey, you aren't actually as paycheck to paycheck as you thought you were. The money's just building up here and then it disappears at this time and it could be doing something else. So that's some success we've already found. And one of the business owners that we worked with joked with, like, hey, if I can invest in doing this for my staff instead of giving them more wages, that is more taxes, more this, and the people don't actually, if you get $1 an hour raise, you're getting what, 70 cents of that or 60 cents of it anyway. So we find that this is a little bit more impactful, and that's some of the feedback that we've got.
Awesome. I feel like
Yeah.
I need a little bell or something every time one of my guests mentions another chamber member, because I think you're up to like 8 or 9
What
of
we
our members
do,
mentioned.
what we do.
So you're doing your board member duty here by mentioning all of our valued members. So
My
uh,
years hosting the Spirit of Success Awards helps. I know I get to know a lot of these businesses. So, and attending some of our events, just like
yeah.
our Chamber at Work event that we were at last week. So,
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And you mentioned Spirit of Success. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't mention that tickets are on sale now for the awards gala happening November 21st. It's always a great night. And this year we're out in Clinton
yeah,
at the Libro Hall, and that event is presented by OLG, so that actually makes sense because the racetrack's right there. And
yeah.
anyway, so yeah, so we're looking forward to that event. If you don't have a ticket already, I recommend anyone listening or watching head over to huronchamber.ca and look for the link to the gala. Because it's a great opportunity to really acknowledge and recognize all the great businesses and nonprofits and individuals that are working. We talked about the busiest people in town always,
Yep.
and they're just working so hard to make Huron County a great place to live and work. And it's really a privilege for the chamber to be able to be in a position to recognize those folks who are doing such a great job. So
They
I
are.
know, Ralph, I will bump into you at an event soon. We have a board meeting coming up, and we have a Spirit of Success coming up, and other
Yes,
things.
sir.
And so I look forward to that. Thanks a lot for coming on to the podcast, talking a bit
Of course.
about Tri-City and everything else we covered today. It's been a bit of a whirlwind of things, but
That's
again,
what we do, Colin.
what's ahead?
That's what we do, Colin. That's for
Well,
sure.
exactly. I mean, it's and we're all involved in so many things that sometimes this half hour doesn't seem like enough to cover it all. But maybe we'll get you back for a follow-up episode in the new year,
Sure.
and
We'll
we
pick
can.
more of a lane and we'll stick to that next time. Sounds good.
I'm not so good at picking lanes, so
That's all right.
I
As
did.
long as you signal when you change lanes, that's all.
Good. Well, anyway, thanks again for being our guest today, and look forward to running into you soon.
Go Blue Jays.
Go Jays.